Okay, here we go.
Okay, awesome. We're calling the Affordable Housing Committee to order. It is 5:37 per my digital watch. And we can start with a roll call. And I guess we'll go this way to give a little extra time.
Brian Smith.
Yes.
Susan Middendorf.
Amy Crawford.
Murphy, representative planning board.
So Nick, have you been sworn in?
Yes.
You have.
Yeah.
Do you have your paperwork with you? Because the clerk hasn't notified me and I,
I can go get it. I'm like 5 minutes down the road.
yeah, because the
Yeah.
clerk never notified me and
Okay.
I did specifically ask last week.
Yeah, it came in after you after I was in correspondence. With
Okay.
your email.
All right, so she didn't email me today to know that you had come in. So if you can go get it, that
Yeah,
would be
no, I'm
great.
like 2 miles down the road, thankfully. So I'll just go grab it.
Cool.
Leave that right there. I'll be right back.
You know, Nick, if you just abstain from any votes, that would be fine too. Because if you don't want to go back and get it.
No, it's fine. I mean,
Okay.
Yeah, I'll go. Just go.
Get it
Okay,
over with.
I apologize.
No worries.
Okay. Awesome. Well, it's good that we're starting off with stuff that might be a little bit less relevant for Nick anyway, so that's good. That would be the approval of minutes. Anybody have any thoughts on the minutes?
I forgot to put a time that it started on the last meeting,
Oh.
I think. Which I want to say was 7:04.
Yeah, I think the only other thing that I was sort of wondering was the November 12th minutes referenced something about our next scheduled meeting on the 3rd, which was what we were thinking at the time, but it ended up not being the 3rd. I don't know if that's the sort of thing that should be kept like sort of as it was at the time, or if we should fix
Minutes
the
reflect what was actually said at the
what
meeting.
was said at the time. Okay, so we shouldn't update the date. Okay, in that case, then I had no other corrections. Anybody else have other things?
And Amy, you had the correction for the time on which meeting?
This most recent one.
Okay.
Sorry, I'm trying to get to it a little slow because I got my mouse.
You can just let me know and I'll make that correction
Okay.
when I find all the
Okay.
minutes.
Thank you.
Gotcha. So I guess we could get a motion to approve with that one time correction to come.
Motion to approve?
Second.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Awesome. Minutes pass. So I guess on to correspondence and public comment. No public, but no comments or no
Nope.
correspondence.
Nope.
Okay. Sounds good. We have nothing listed under new business this week, just a couple of items under old business. So I think we could probably jump right into the lofts at Fairgrounds.
So I would ask, because
Yeah.
this is currently pending before Joe at the planning board,
Yeah.
if we could hold lofts for fairgrounds
Yeah.
so that he can leave before that comes up.
That's a good point. Yeah.
Because he really can't offer any
Yeah,
comments
yeah.
on that when it's pending before the
Okay.
planning board.
Oh, is that how that works?
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's fine. We can go in. We can sort of flip up the order. So we'll do the next item for old business. Then we can get a staff update, and then we can go back to Lofts at Fairgrounds. So the second item is the draft missing middle housing ordinance discussion. So I guess I kind of want to get some input from all of you on how to do this. So what I was originally thinking, I think a couple months ago when this first came up, is to try to do one more attempt at sending a letter, like to say, we really would like some action on this, both from the council and the planning board. And if that doesn't work, give a few months and see if it's able to show up on an agenda. And in the event that once again we're sort of stonewalled, then maybe see if we can speed things up a little bit. We discussed sort of potentially using the method to set that 45-day clock going. But it seems like from the minutes of the meeting I was not at, and so this is where I need people to fill me in. People wanted to go through it, like the draft ordinance, in more detail, including maybe spending a couple of meetings and going more meticulously through it. So is that a correct understanding of where we are with that? And if so, do we want to start doing that this meeting?
So-
Start making some progress.
There is actually some missing middle in front of the planning board now, or at least we're reviewing it, right? The 1 to 4 units in that specific area, the neighborhood 1.5 or whatever it is, or 2.5.
Well, that's all part of the old Tower Hill Road
Yep.
project. Yeah. This,
But it is.
what,
but it's-
what he's referring to is that old Horsley Whitman
Yep.
ordinance.
Yes.
Yep.
But I think it's related, so as part of the old,
Mm.
are you familiar with the old Tower Hill Road and the missing middle portion of that?
I don't know what you're specifically talking about. I know that some of the things that would potentially be allowed would fit the definition, but
So
Yeah.
one of the things that would be allowed is to basically take some of the single-family houses and allow them to go up to 4 units.
gotcha. Yep, yep.
And in a certain section of town.
Yeah,
Right.
gotcha.
So to me, that's a pretty good springboard.
Yeah, yeah.
And something that would be
That's a good
worthy
point.
of. I mean, what we had talked about before, the missing middle is like 1 to 6 units and open
Mhm.
it up into the R10, R20, and possibly even R30.
Mhm.
But what they're talking about right now is the highway is the missing middle up to 4 units and in a certain area of town.
Yeah,
To me, it's kind of a good springboard of, well, why limit it to 4, why not go 6, and why
Yeah, yeah.
that section of town, but to me, it's related.
right.
And that was sort of the recommendation that I had, given where we were with Old Tower Hill Road,
Right.
is to let that play out, because it's a project that has some momentum behind it. And see where you're at the end of that project.
Gotcha. Yeah, so in other words, if that project is able to keep up the momentum and there's support for getting up to 4, then it's at least like, hey, this other stuff that we've been sitting on, maybe it's not as scary as it seems. Maybe it's sort of a similar sort of thing, just expand the area, maybe a little larger
Yeah.
size.
And there's
Yeah.
size, there's limits on it as far as how many bedrooms. And there's limits on how big the apartments can be.
Right.
There's limits on how big the structure can be.
Yep.
Which, from what I would like to see, it's a little smaller than
Yeah.
what we would have, allowed the missing middle, but I thought it was a pretty healthy start.
Yeah.
Who was that proposed by? Where did that come from?
That's the old highway, or the highway district proposal that's in front of the
Oh, the
town.
highway, yeah.
Yeah, so just so the board is clear on what Joe's talking about, we have the Old Tower Hill Road, the draft ordinance that was prepared for us by our consultants. And the planning board is currently working on that. They need to provide an advisory opinion on that ordinance to the town council. We are not going to edit the ordinance itself. We're going to send the ordinance in essentially the same draft as the planning board received it, along with a letter outlining all of the planning board's recommendations for changes. So that way, the council sees the original and sees what's being recommended, and then they can make their decision.
Gotcha.
One of the recommendations was to take the Oak Street area, which was like supposedly the last street that would have been caught up in it, and be a little bit more specific as to the limitations on building size and number of bedrooms and things like that. After everything that happened with the 2 duplexes that went up on that street. I think a lot of it was a reaction to the 5 bedrooms per unit. And we don't currently have anything that limits the number of bedrooms you can put in a dwelling unit. It's all a factor of how small you want to make the bedrooms. In this, they would create a maximum building footprint size and a maximum number of bedrooms, and allow it to be constrained by the lot. And by placing a cap on the number of bedrooms, you are effectively placing a cap on number of occupants, at least unrelated occupants. So.
Yep. I always wonder, is the worry with the ideas of like little satellite dorms, is the worry about too many in too small of a space, or is the worry about like students coming in at all? Like that's what I never know, right? Because if we take for granted that we're going to say URI has said at least they're not intending to raise their enrollment. So if you build, let's just say hypothetically you put in 3 extra bedrooms or something relative to what a hypothetical regulation might limit you to. So you would definitely increase the concentration of students there, absolutely. And if that's the not desirable thing, then I get it. But if the thought is like, we're going to sort of limit the amount of bedrooms because those are the only sorts of units that students and not other people would want, like in other words, it's like very much catering to students, and we just don't want students to be there at all, then I think the whole musical chairs of it all means that's not necessarily that productive, because if you try to limit units like that on the grounds that students might move in, then those students are, if they can't live there, they're going to live somewhere else in town, and it's going to continue to, they're going to have the same sorts of concerns about, I have students as my neighbors, and they're spreading out into all these other units we want to have available for full-time residents, etc. And at the same time, when you limit the amount of bedrooms, it's sort of, it feels like it's limiting almost a little artificially how cheap those units could be, like at a market rate, just by making the bedrooms a certain size. So like that's where I'm still trying to suss out like what the worry is specifically with this.
There's a concern of having a concentration of students.
Concentration.
Location. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, if you have apartments and you have a couple here and there, but there's a concern that there's a concentration and it becomes more of a dormitory lifestyle than a mature professional.
Right. That would
So
be-
that's
would
my
be
thought,
sort of
intent. Well, I
anecdotal.
think that the concern is.
I think there's a little bit of both. When I talk to people on Oak Street and ask them what their concern was, would they be concerned if they were 3-bedroom duplexes with
Right.
families in each one?
Yep.
Or whether it was simply the sheer intensity of the use.
Right.
Awesome, thank you very much. And we'll just note him in at 5:49.
Awesome.
Do you want to say your name too as part of the roll call? Is that?
Go
I
ahead.
just wanted-
Oh, yeah.
Hey, Ferkula, sorry.
Thank you.
Awesome.
Welcome.
Yes.
I think there's definitely a population in town that just doesn't want to see students.
Yeah.
But I think in this case, it was the 20 individuals in a small
Yeah,
space.
it's too much in too small space.
On
Yep.
lots that would essentially become building and parking lot and storm drainage.
Yep. Yeah. Yeah, it feels like a tough problem. Like, imagine a future, right, where URI has built enough dorms to meet basically all of the need for undergraduate housing, and then you still have an entire community that has limited the amount of bedrooms in buildings. And I don't know, some people like me, for example, I have very modest needs. I would be very happy with a small bedroom. I'm okay with that. Just keep the price down, right? And I think there are a lot of people, especially people who are a little bit more like insecure with housing, where they would absolutely say, give me a roof over my head. I don't necessarily care if I have extra square footage, if I can just have something stable that I can afford. So it's a tough trade-off, but I think there's plenty of way to advance and go the right direction without fighting that battle yet. So I am content to not do that right now.
I was encouraged just on that topic, just briefly,
Yeah.
with the, I think it was the lawyer who said, I imagine it was the lawyer, who said, there are legal ways. Oh, no, it was Melina.
Yeah, it was
Yeah,
Melina.
let's
Yeah,
not
it's-
segue into a
Sorry.
discussion at law.
Gotcha. Oh, sorry, wrong.
Yeah.
I'm on the wrong thing. Sorry, it's really on my mind.
It's okay.
Okay,
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Sorry, John.
No worries. Awesome. So I guess what I'm gathering from this, though, is, I like the idea, and I think that's fine to sort of let the planning board finish up with recommendations on Old Tower Hill Road. We can see the sort of once that shakes out, like what the appetite seems to be from the board and from the council about this sort of, this style of getting into Missing Middle and Old Tower Hill Road, like around the edges. And provided that goes well, maybe that's a good opportunity. And if it doesn't, we're back where we were, which means still we wasted a little time, but we can continue pushing the draft ordinance. But it could be I think this is totally fine. And in that case, then I think it's probably great to go through it now, take sections of a meeting or two, or even, however much we need to take a look through the draft ordinance and see what thoughts we have. I guess the question I'd have first is, has anybody here gone through the ordinance?
I have not. That's
Should-
what I was just going to say.
That's okay. And
Not a long time.
because we could go through it little by little. I went through it very meticulously a few months ago, but I haven't refreshed that. So, if we wanted to just take a chunk of it today, go for a bit, right? And making sure that we still have time for the letter, but if we put a half hour into it or so and just see how far we get and just start making progress through it, I think that could be a fair thing to do.
I'm okay with that.
Awesome. Okay.
And that wasn't one of the attachments, correct?
It should be I think it's at the very bottom of the
Yeah.
packet. I'm pulling it up now too.
I'm looking at the packet.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it's at the very bottom of the packet. It starts.
should be the last attachment.
Yeah, it's page 22 is where it starts up.
2022's 7/12.
Yep.
Okay, yeah, I can see it.
Awesome. Okay.
Which I have gone through it, I will say.
Yeah.
Not in detail, but I read it.
Yeah. No, that's great. I think it'll be a good, the more times we have eyes on this, the better. The thing I will say, and I don't want to prime the discussion, but there are a lot of notes in here that were very much they seemed very deferential to concerns on the planning board, and so I'm not too confident we're going to find a ton of things that are, things that might be obvious options for the planning board, in order to sort of make it more appealing to them. And you might have better ideas, Joe. I'd be very interested, but that was sort of my thought going through it. But anyway, I guess we can just start reading through. Can we go back in school, take turns reading sections, see if we have any thoughts? Does that work for everybody? All right. I'll start with the top in the first section, then we can go around in a circle. So, also, Nick, do you have the packet for this meeting?
I got one in my email, but I just don't have Wi-Fi. 'Cause this is the
Oh,
first time
yeah.
I have my laptop. I'm sorry.
Yeah, it should be. What is it? Is it Town Internet or Town Wireless?
Town internet.
Town gas.
Yeah, I think it's capital T if I remember right,
Yeah.
but everything else is lowercase. Just Town Internet is the password for the guest.
Got it. Okay.
Yep.
Do you have an outlet over there at all?
Yeah, we can give you a sec to pull it up. That's all good.
Yeah, thank you.
Oh,
Yeah,
there's
no
a strip
worries.
over here, Susan.
All right.
Yep.
Thank you.
Cool.
Thank you. Sorry. No, you're good.
Cool. Yeah, it's 22 is where it starts up.
I can also just print you out a copy if you want.
I got it right here.
Okay.
Yeah. Awesome. Cool. And the basic background for this was, I guess someone might need to correct me on the timing, but at least a few years ago, I want to say it was in the ballpark of 5-ish years ago, there was a consultant hired by the town that was basically putting together some deliverables relating to basically increasing the availability of affordable housing in town. One of the pieces of this was this draft ordinance that had to do with cottage zoning, which has, that actually, was adopted This is another piece of that, which is based on missing middle housing. So think, things like manor homes, like townhomes, things that are, bigger than single family or in duplexes, but are smaller than think like 12 plus unit apartments. Because currently the town doesn't really distinguish. Like once you get above duplexes, it's sort of like you're just doing a larger major project. There's no like built-in boxes for housing like this, and so that's what this is. It's a draft ordinance, but it's been a sort of a long-term effort of trying to get some action on this because it's come up a couple times at the planning board. It hasn't gotten any sort of like vote or strong advisory opinion to send over to the council, and so it's currently just sitting here as a draft. So the idea is to, at least now, is what we're going to try to do is go through this just to see if there are items we can identify that might that maybe we can intuit are things that the planning board is potentially not a fan of and might be reasons why they're not prioritizing this, or just generally things that we see that might be able to make it better, like recommendations we might have. And hopefully, again, we're thinking of waiting until a similar effort at Old Tower Hill Road, comes to fruition, hopefully. But the idea is to eventually bring this back up and see if we can get action on it. Okay, so I will start reading through it. The draft missing middle housing ordinance presented to the SK Planning Board at 7/12/2022 work session. So it's been over 3 years. Okay, draft proposed new section 502.8 to South Kingstown's zoning ordinance regarding what is commonly referred to as missing middle housing, and that we are provisionally titling village scale multi-unit housing. Explanations where needed are in the gray boxes. So 502.8 village scale multi-unit housing, townhouses, manor homes, and village apartments. Purpose. The purposes of this section, village scale multi-unit housing are to 1. Provide housing types that are responsive to changing household demographics, e.g. retirees, young people entering the workforce, small families, single parent households, single person households, dual owner households. 2. Provide more opportunities for low to moderate income housing and relatively lower cost market rate housing. 3. Promote neighborhood interaction and safety through design. And 4. Ensure compatibility with neighboring uses. And I think, here, I'll go through section B and then we can take a quick pause. So, applicability and eligibility. The planning board may approve a village scale multi-unit housing development proposal in accordance with the following conditions. 1. Village scale multi-unit housing development shall be allowed in the town's R10 or R20 zoning districts. Now, our gray box says. Note, Horsley Witten, the consultant, and us, is that... Do you know what us is? Anybody?
I don't know.
Interesting. Okay, Horsley Witten and somebody else would still recommend that the town consider allowing these uses outside the R10 and R20 zoning districts, ideally anywhere with public sewer. And I like that recommendation. Awesome. So now number 2, village scale multi-unit housing development shall be allowed on lots that have existing access to water and sewer service, or where the applicant can demonstrate that new water and sewer access will be provided prior to occupancy. 3. Proposals for village scale multi-unit housing developments that would include 12 or fewer housing units shall be reviewed as minor land development unless the proposal includes a subdivision that would create 6 or more lots, in which case the process for a major subdivision would apply. 4. Proposals for village scale multi-unit housing developments that would include more than 12 housing units shall be reviewed as major land development or major subdivisions as applicable. 5. Existing houses and other structures may be converted or redeveloped into village scale multi-unit housing per the same standards as new development unless otherwise specified herein. So any initial thoughts with that first couple of sections as I pull up my notes for the first time I looked at this?
I would give you mine.
Sure.
I think it's too restrictive. I mean, I
Yeah.
think we're still thinking about that we need water and sewer as if it was a larger multi-unit. And the truth of the matter is, we're talking about anything over 2 units, so it could be 3 or 4 unit. They built that place, Pine Ridge, or what's the place over there in right over there in Exeter?
The Pine View? Is that-
Pine View.
Yeah.
And that's all on septic systems.
Oh, wow. Okay, yeah.
So certainly to, limit it just to sewer, in my mind, is
Yeah,
too restrictive.
totally. Yeah.
You could distinguish, doesn't have to be necessarily 12 unit. You could do something that's smaller than that and limit the number of bedrooms. If you got a 6 unit with maximum of 12 bedrooms, I mean, obviously it's bigger than a single family house, but it's not an order of magnitude bigger.
Right, totally. Yeah.
You
Josh,
could,
do you
in
want me to
theory,
take any
Joe,
notes?
limit it to a
Oh,
DEM
by all
flow
means, yeah.
rating, which is, because DEM sizes septic systems based on the number of bedrooms. So if you said, no more than X thousand, gallons of flow, that would dictate the number of bedrooms, regardless of how many units you have.
Yeah.
Say that if you're gonna have septic, you can't go over this volume.
Right.
A lot of it is, like you say, DEM and the type of soil. So it's really kind of an engineering decision.
Yeah.
More than it is anything else, as to how many units can you put on this piece of property. DEM will have the final say, getting your approvals.
So I'm sure you know this, but the R10 and R20, most of those are on sewer. That's kind of a core area.
Yeah.
The R30 less so. There's some that is and some that's not, depending on it. It's kind of like on an extension.
Yeah.
So by not requiring it to be on sewer,
Yeah.
you open it up to other areas.
Yeah. And especially if you were to go away from limiting it to just R10 and R20. Like if you're already specifying R10 and R20, then whether or not you require sewer maybe is less important, because it's probably most of them will have it anyway.
Yeah.
But yeah, like if you were to do away with that requirement and simultaneously say, like, limit to some flow rate or something, then absolutely that would make it a lot.
Exeter High School is on a septic system.
Is it really? Wow.
Is it really?
Well, they don't have town sewer.
Yeah, they're not-
That's incredible.
That's actually true. They don't have town sewer, do they?
Wow.
That's a long ways away from it.
Oh, yeah, they don't have town sewer anywhere. So
To say the least.
your drinking water has to be so far away, a certain
Yeah.
distance from your septic system, so that's all DEM.
Yeah.
We have water in a lot of places. We don't have septic.
And that's a huge cost in this, having this, making sure there's sewer and.
Yeah.
I mean, you could do something like, if it's on sewer, and then it's up to the 12 units or whatever, but if it's not on sewer, then it's, like Brian said, limit it to flow rate, or the number of bedrooms it works. Get you the same place.
How much the land can support the property.
Well, that part's gonna be taken care of, because whatever they do, DEM's gonna have to approve.
Exactly.
Yeah.
If they
They
don't
get
sign
approval
off, it's not
size,
going
And
in.
they usually go by rooms. And the rooms, I believe, are by person per room.
Yeah, on the septic?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's per bedroom based on the assumption of two people per bedroom.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, okay, the one thing I want to just ask before we get too deep into this. So, when I went through this the first time, I came up with a handful of things that were kind of like this, where I'm like, I feel like I'd be very comfortable recommending a certain change. I'm just not as confident that that change is going to make it more palatable to the planning board. Sometimes I worry it's going to make it less palatable to the planning board. Like, so for something like this, for example, like, I think it's a great suggestion. I love it, but I'm worried that there are enough members that are sort of spooked by the density that anything that would make that easier to do in broader parts of the town might make it, like, as a whole, kind of a scarier thing. Like, how do you feel about that?
Well, I think anytime the board reviews a new regulation, you look at the what if scenarios. What's kind of the worst case? What could this result in? So if you just said up to 12 units, it could be off sewer. There's going to be people right away. It's going to be concerned about groundwater, groundwater protection, that type of stuff. It would, in my mind, it's more palatable if you say if it's off sewer, you get up to this much flow rate, which,
Yeah.
you know, and if you, with sewer, and some of the regulations, I think there is a note over to the side that tells you, what the requirements are, so something like that to me would be.
Yeah.
So you're not necessarily taking away restrictions, you're just having a different measurement.
Well, you're gonna allow different things depending on what the land use, what the land's capable of. So if it has sewer, it's gonna be capable of, you know, you're gonna be able to maybe have more units in there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, yeah. No, that's totally fair. And I think looking at my looking at my notes from going through this the first time, I actually had the same thought as this, that I would just as soon remove the first bullet under B, like that's limiting it to R10 and R20, if especially if it's already insisting on water and sewer access, and I like the idea of limiting to like a certain amount of flow rate if it's going to be outside. Like it feels like a reasonable compromise to come to.
So, I mean, if you look at one of the goals, objectives was to make it fit into neighboring. And in my mind, the missing middle is kind of that manor house where you
Yeah,
kind
yeah.
of fit into,
Absolutely.
you know, you don't change the characteristics of the neighborhood.
Totally. Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
and that is always important for the planning board. How's the
Yeah.
neighborhood? What's the neighbor's gonna, you know, you shouldn't be driving down the road like all these nice houses, and then all of a sudden
Yeah.
there's
Yeah.
an apartment building that's obviously an apartment building.
Right. No, I gotcha. Yeah, it did seem like a good amount of attention was paid to that in this, which I thought was good. Like they have a couple of like a few pages down, a couple of the sort of depictions of the different styles of buildings, and it seemed like stuff that you could totally see on basically any lot in town, and you might not even know that it was multifamily. Like especially those manor homes, you could be like, is it one mansion or is this 4 or 6 units? Like who knows?
Yeah.
It's hard to say. Yeah. Okay, awesome. Any other thoughts on the first bit, or should we maybe we'll go left, find a new reader, and then go to the next section?
All right, we're going to C now.
Yeah. Let's
Okay.
go into C.
Inclusionary zoning, any village scale multi-unit housing development that would include the development of 6 or more housing units is subject to the inclusionary zoning requirement of section 502.6. D, types of village scale multi-unit housing. For purposes of this section, there are 3 types of village scale multi-unit housing. These may be proposed singly or in combination, provided the dimensional regulations for each type are met. Some standards herein apply to all 3 types, while other standards apply only to a specific individual type. So, number 1, townhouses. Single-family attached units which are arranged in a series side by side and share multiple common party walls within all units touching the ground plane. Number 2, manor houses. A small multi-unit building that is composed to look like a large single-family house or can be an existing house that is converted into individual units. Number 3, village apartments. A medium-sized multi-unit building that is residential in scale and character and commonly comprised of a series of apartment units with shared circulation. Larger existing homes may be converted to village apartments. E is an echo, density requirements. Number 1, a village scale multi-unit housing development shall contain a minimum of 3 dwelling units and may contain a maximum total of 24 dwelling units. Number 2, none of the provisions of this section shall be interpreted as removing any density limitations or nutrient loading limitations that may be required by DEM or the coastal resources for specific areas. So density requirements, a townhouse, no more than 6 units attached together. Manor house, under density requirements, no more than 6 units per building. Density requirements for village apartment, no more than 12 units per building. So in a gray area is noted. Alternatively, we can discuss building no cap on residential density if there is room for the required parking and the building envelope meets standards. There would be no limit to the number of units allowed.
Yeah. So I guess let's take a
That's a lot.
little pause here. Yeah. I had a couple thoughts. Any thoughts?
Well, I heard a lot about scale.
Mm.
Listening to that meeting the other night, so I think that jumps out, as an issue.
Yeah.
That's what I heard from the planning board is
Yeah.
looking at. And these different scenarios between townhouse, manor house, and village apartments I think they can fit in a lot of places
Mm.
without, there's a minimum 3 dwelling units, a maximum of 24. So I think, I'm just saying that, is there an opportunity to address scale, smaller scale or larger scale, or what?
Yeah. I think on that point, I was curious about the maximum of 24. Like, again, like taking your point of thinking the worst case scenario. Like, so it's like, okay, cool. So now I guess maybe it's an R10 and R20 only, or maybe we relax that and say you could put it in an R30 provided you're able to, or whatever you want, like R80, go for it, provided you have the ability to, do septic or town water or whatever. And now all of a sudden you have potentially 24 units. And so based on the density requirements for the buildings, like you'd think of, could be two of these max size village apartments or up to 4 of the max size townhouse and manor house. And I think that my impression is that would feel like a lot for, especially if it's a little bit more restrictive or a little less restrictive in terms of what zones. Like that would be my guess. Like I wonder if it would be more palatable if it were dropped down to, like, say, make it 12 or something like that. Because I always hate making these arguments because I feel like I'm fighting against my best interest.
Yeah, exactly.
But it's sort of what this is one of the few things that jumped out at me when I was like, I feel like making that change might actually make them happier. I'm not sure. The note in gray I thought was interesting too, with like no cap on residential density potentially. If there's room for parking and the building envelope is fine, then you're okay. And
Yeah, I thought that sounded a little threatening.
and
Threatening's not the right word, but
if you're gonna
too open.
it feels like it's very, like, not like House of Cardsy, but it's based on a couple of other provisions, and the second those other provisions get changed, then things could get really, really a lot bigger, a lot faster. Like I'm thinking, like it's talking about, provided there's a room for the required parking. Well, what if the town does something that I would love them to do and do, like, more relaxed or even eliminated parking minimums, and now all of a sudden it's like, oh, well that is no longer a major constraint on your lot size, or if we're limiting it to, this certain flow rate or what have you, but we're not limiting to R10 or R20, and you say, okay, you can go in a pretty rural zone and then have no cap on density whatsoever, I think that would scare people. I think they would not like that at all. So so as much as I like the gray note, I feel like maybe the gray note would be a little too much. Unless if we wanted to insist that it stays R10 and R20, in which case maybe it's not so bad. Yeah. Any other thoughts about that?
I kind of have a thought, and pardon me if it's sort of in the wrong place here, but I have a thought about our trying to guess what the planning board is, what's going to make people more receptive.
It's a hard
to this.
game.
It's a hard game.
Yeah.
And I just wonder, is there, because I'm picturing going through this and thinking, oh, well, you know, maybe this isn't quite what we want, but maybe that's what they want, and maybe, you know,
Yes.
that maybe a more direct route. We have talked about it. We've never really made a solid proposal to meet with the planning board and say, what do you want? How can we help this to go through? What would be helpful? What do you see as a problem? What do you see as the barriers? I don't know.
Yeah, I would
just a
love
thought.
that. I think you've arrived at my conclusion when I went through this process the first time, where it's like I have a lot of things that I would like to change, but I feel like I'm sort of guessing a little bit, and I think of a lot of the things that were no-brainer for me to want to change are things that would lead to increased density, and
Yeah, and we're definitely. I was surprised to see as much resistance as there is to the density.
yeah,
Well, I heard at the meeting the other night something about, I think one of the town council members talked about a meeting with affordable housing planning, and then
that would be lovely.
what is thrown out there. Unbelievable.
Can we maybe think
Yeah.
about how we can make that a more formal invitation?
Yeah, no,
And,
I
you know,
love
we
it.
could
I mean, they even
propose a
talked
couple of
about
dates.
when the next meetings
Right,
are, and
right.
when they, you know, they discussed the viability of when it would actually happen, but something was said.
Yeah, yeah, and so I just have the question about mechanically how to do this, because I think we've come up with this in the past.
I
We've
know,
been
I
like,
don't know
wouldn't it
what
be great to
happens.
have this meeting? And you know, we haven't been able to get our scheduled meeting from February with the town council.
Right.
So,
That was also discussed.
and I know that the planning board is really busy too. So it's you know, it's hard enough to get this on an agenda, like this item on an agenda, never mind get a meeting where we can discuss.
Right.
I would be more than happy to try to do that. I could try to, like, even, I don't know if this is the appropriate channel, but I could just send an email to the chair and be like, what can we do? Like, do you want to try to find a time to discuss this? And we could try to go that way. I don't know.
Yeah,
You think there's any better
thoughts?
route than that?
Yeah, any
It's-
recommendations?
Yeah, I think that's a good idea. Just send a letter to the chair of the
yeah,
planning board and say, we're available, and
yeah.
what's your schedule? When do you have time to meet with us?
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm happy to do that. Is it all right for me to just do this? We don't need to vote on contents. I can just do it.
Well, I mean, you've discussed the content, and you're asking
Yeah.
an informal inquiry about when would be convenient to schedule a meeting to go through this or this and other topics.
Yeah.
Just to have a general work session on housing affordability.
Yeah. No, that sounds great. Okay, well, I can definitely do that. Yeah, to do. Yeah, awesome. Okay, so I will do that. I think in the meantime, if this is something that we want to discuss, I'm happy to continue to go through it here. I'm also happy to say, you know, if people are actually like think they have the time to do it, we could do like a thorough read and just be prepared to discuss whatever you all think is most productive. But I agree, it's in sort of trying to go through it with the intention of guessing what may or may not be palatable is hard. Like you might have a thought based on the meetings you've seen, but it's hard. So
I feel like personally, if I had a date that I knew that I was going to meet with the planning board,
that would light the
I'd
fire.
I'd get my reading done.
Get your homework done.
I get my homework done, right? You know, that's just me. But you know, it's also helpful when we discuss something in community as well, because I think you know
Yeah.
the sort of brainstorming adds to
Yeah.
adds to our understanding. But
Yeah. I mean, we could always still go through it with an eye to like, how does this sound? What aspects of it do we think we just as our board with our own opinions think might need to change? And try not to project onto the other, just try to say like, how can we make this a better regulation? Keeping in mind that we're just, you know, we're advisory, we're not a paid consultant, but just reading through based on our needs and what we think. It could at least make us more prepared to have that conversation, assuming we're able to get a meeting ever scheduled.
Yeah, that's what I was just gonna say. I would propose that you reach out
Yeah.
and try to pin down a date. I don't know how that happens, but just,
Yeah.
you know,
All I
say
can do is
yes,
ask.
just
Absolutely.
say yes to
Yeah, yeah.
whatever, and we'll see if we can get enough people there.
Yeah.
And once we have that date, then we make a special meeting date for us to all get together and all go over it right before
Yeah.
we.
For sure.
Talk
Or maybe
about
even
what
just
about
during a regular meeting, depending on time.
Right, could be on the time.
Because
But,
this could
yeah.
be months away.
It could
Yes.
be, right?
Based on the planning board's schedule.
Yes.
We don't know what that is.
Yeah.
We're
It-
definitely into next year.
Yes.
That's what I heard.
And I think in the event that, you know, we hear, oh yeah, sure, we'll be here next week, then that would be the greatest problem to have, and we'll
Right,
figure it
and
out.
we'll figure it out.
so,
It's nice that we've got a full complement now, so we've got
Yes.
more people to draw on to be able to
And we
make a
can
quorum.
divide it up.
yeah, no,
Yes.
also
We can divide
fair.
it up.
Yeah.
Yeah,
People
it's
take a little homework and then
yes,
be prepared, more prepared instead of line by line.
yeah,
Each person could present
Yeah.
part of it.
totally fair. It's also not that long. I
No,
did
it isn't.
I did get
There's a
through it
lot
in a
of
couple.
tutorials, yeah.
I don't know. I spent like a couple hours, and I was going like in detail.
Yeah, there's,
So like yeah, well, however we want to do it, but yeah, I think that sounds good as a next step. And yeah, I do think it would be faster here as well to like, you know, rather than go through it line by line. If we maybe it takes a little push, but like if we have a reason to all get together and discuss, and we've had a chance to go through it on our own and have our own thoughts ready, like that might be a little bit more like of a productive use of time.
So
Yeah.
I would suggest that you are looking earliest at second Tuesday in February.
Okay.
would agree.
All right,
From what I
because
heard.
we already have items on the first Tuesday meeting, which is traditionally the work session meeting for the planning board. We already have permitting issues on that first Tuesday in January as overflow. So definitely not until February, probably after that, to be honest.
Yeah.
That's realistic.
Yep. No, it's totally fair. So I will send that email, and I will keep Brian posted, who will keep you all posted about if and when we're able to get something worked out.
Great.
Awesome. So I think then if we want to sort of, I always hate table it. It feels like we're going to be discussing it more, putting it on the table. I prefer we'll shelve it until you know, our future discussion. So that I guess I would propose then we go into the 3 update sections, and then we can come back and talk about the Joe recusal topics. Yes.
So, really quickly, you may already be aware that the town council adopted a proposal for South Road and Wakefield to basically dedicate their own funds for the demolition of those 2
Yeah.
buildings. They had been trying to wait to see if money became available through grant processes for that. But they're really getting tired of waiting. The buildings are upkeep and maintenance black holes. And you know they don't want to have to deal with that. So for your notice, the money they're going to do that is going to come out of the Affordable Housing Fund, as well as some other sources of fund, because it's about $500,000 minimum. It's probably more than that per building for demo. But that's progress. You know, the ball is moving forward. You're not going to do anything on either of those properties until the buildings are gone. So it's a first step.
Yeah.
Brian, considering the money coming from the Affordable Housing fund. I know that we don't have control over that, but there would be an illusion that the Affordable Housing Committee was the one who thought, oh, let's demo those buildings. And there's
interesting.
a lot of, you know.
I mean, I don't know if you're actually hearing that from someplace, but
No,
that,
I'm making it up.
Okay. I mean, that in fact is not the case. I mean, your role, this board's role in that fund is to vet third-party applications for money from that fund. If the town council decides to use it for affordable housing purposes, that's on them. And in any event, any expenditure from that fund over $7,500 has to have the town council's signature on it anyway.
Yeah.
So,
I just wish that there were a way that that could be sort of on the record, that that's not something that we were necessarily pushing for as a first step. I'm not saying that, you know.
I don't think you need to worry about that
Really? Okay.
because there was a lengthy written memo prepared by the deputy town
Right.
manager
I did see
recommending
that.
all of these expenditures.
Mhm.
So I don't think there is any connection to you as a group on that.
Okay. All right.
So I would not be concerned about that.
Okay.
And the one other thing I was thinking too is, depending on how you read it, you could say, oh, well, this is maybe a good sign that if they're using money from the Affordable Housing Trust Fund for the demolition, that it's sort of an indication that housing is indeed what's going to be built there. My one worry, if you take the other side of it, is there's been a louder and louder push for let's expand this park, for example, at Wakefield Elementary, and it would be very frustrating to have, you know, a large chunk of the money in the funds be put into demoing a building that becomes a park instead of housing. So obviously that hasn't happened, but it is something that I at least have worries about. So
So the council has been very clear in its interest in creating housing.
Yes. Yeah.
It is all politics, however,
Yep.
and were that to come to fruition, I don't think it would be out of line for the board to make a request to the town council to somehow make arrangements to replenish the fund
Yeah.
in
Yeah.
some way, shape, or form, whether it's for continuing to move open space money into the affordable housing fund until it reaccrues, or some mechanism. But I don't think it would be out of line to make that request at a point in the future if something like that were to happen.
Yeah. No, it sounds good.
And you provided, I think you sent us something on that, right? The proposal for the demolition.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, if I remember, wasn't it like the town is putting, it was like $350K of its own money into the housing trust fund, and then essentially withdrawing that same money, as well as it was like up to, was it 450K extra? So it's like actually, you know, compared to the amount that has been in the fund, that is like a large amount. I don't know exactly how much is in the fund, but that's like a lot.
A big chunk.
A lot. So that's part of why
There's also
I have the worry.
zero going to open space as a
Yes.
result of all of this too. So,
Yeah, fair.
what else was I gonna say? Yeah, I think some of that money is coming from a fund that the town has set aside for grants. Most grants have a matching component, so if we want to be competitive in applying for grants, we have to have money available for the town match. I
Right.
think they're pulling money out of that account for this as well.
And there weren't any dates attached to those?
I think they're looking to get rolling on it. I really don't think they have a taste for the vandalism issues that they're having at
Yeah, it's
Wakefield.
bad, That's right.
with continuing to pay light bills and
Yeah,
heating
yeah.
bills and all that kind of stuff for the properties.
Yeah.
It is gonna take a while. I mean, there's a lot of prep work that goes into taking
sure.
down buildings like this. You
Yeah.
have to have hazardous waste
Sewers
inspections
and-
and
yeah.
all of that kind of stuff. I'm sure it may be a while until you actually see
Anybody
heavy
sees
equipment
anything, right.
pulling the building down, but I'm sure the work will be going on behind the scenes fairly quickly. So,
Cool. Awesome. I guess you're welcome to continue sliding
Okay.
through if nobody has other
yeah,
comments.
Main Street,
Yeah.
Rhode Island. For people who may be familiar with it, there's an organization called Main Street America. They provide basically information, support, advice, experience in maintaining main streets and bringing them back to economic vibrance. This is something that was discussed for a while at the Economic Development Committee. We realized we couldn't do anything with it because you couldn't become part of Main Street America unless there was a state entity. The legislature gave a bunch of money to Grow Smart Rhode Island to start training people to become Main Street America and to create a state base for that. An application has been filed. It was not filed by the town, but it was filed by a group involving, people interested in Wakefield, including members of the Wakefield Village Association, the South County Chamber of Commerce, and whatnot. So we'll have a group of people going through the training on that over the next 6 to 8 months or so. So that is moving forward. And Old Tower Hill Road update, I sort of did that already. Joe, I mean, you can chime in on this as well. I mean, I think the planning board has largely gone through the entire proposal, and we're just working on a few of the adjustments that the board is interested in conveying to the council. Correct?
Correct.
Is there anything major?
Well, as Joe suggested, if you look at the ordinance, it's based on these different zones or transects. So it starts up at the top of the hill with the most commercial, most dense use. Then as you come down and go through Route 108 and Dale Carlia Corner, once you get to behind Job Lot, now it wants to transition back down into lower density, lower intensity uses, and it's been in those fringe districts where most of the planning board's discussion has been going on. The fact of the matter is, existing zoning allows for some more intense use of those locations without any design standards or guidelines or anything like that, which is part of the reason why we saw what we did on Oak Street. So even if these areas become more than single-family houses, they're allowed to do that to some extent right now, and at least under this ordinance, there would be some design constraints to make them integrate a little bit better.
Yeah.
Are there multiple ordinances?
No, it's one big ordinance. It's the kind of ordinance, it's called a form-based code.
All right.
Right, because rather than being based on lots and setbacks and uses, it's based on what do the structures look and how do they fit together. So it's all about the building and less about the use inside the building.
So just, how far in the process is the planning board? Like, so is it, let's say, pretty well decided that it's definitely gonna be form-based code, and there have to be tweaks now to the design, or is the design already where is the design in the
Well, the
in
code,
process?
the code is written, the code is drafted.
To accept it or not? Okay.
Right, so the
Great.
question is
Got it.
to accept it as it is, or to
Yes.
accept it with changes.
Okay.
And as I indicated, we're going to send the draft code as is, along with a communication from the planning board outlining the changes that they are suggesting.
Got it.
And the only question I have is, do we know yet when this will be in front of the council, or is it probably January?
No, you are probably looking at February or March, because
Gotcha.
there will be, there's at least 3 or 4 weeks of advertising for an ordinance change like this that they'll have to go through. And then I would expect multiple public hearings on this, not just a one and done.
Yeah.
So I would not expect to see a hearing on this before the council probably until February.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah.
I mean, I didn't get the impression that there was gonna be any major changes. I mean, most of the stuff we were talking about, tweaking that.
Yeah, that's good to hear.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I kinda wanna expand to that, especially that's a little part, but
Yeah, yeah.
didn't seem to have much of the traction.
Yeah, the planning board really had no recommendations for the higher density transects.
Yeah.
Like I said, all of the stuff north or east of 108, you guys seem to be pretty happy with. And it was only those fringe areas on Holly, Oak, and then over behind the post office on MacArthur Boulevard, that there was a lot of discussion.
Yeah. Well, that's encouraging, though.
Yeah.
Yeah. Awesome.
That's R20 right now, right? And
That's
it was,
R20.
And it was interesting,
Mm.
possibly at some point going to R10 there. Although a lot of the houses are, the lots are already smaller than the R20.
Oh, yeah.
Hmm.
There are quite a few big lots over there, because I looked at that area to see what you could do over there,
Yeah.
and there are 4 or 5 lots that would qualify for duplexes, and duplex lots in R20 have to be bigger than duplex lots in R10.
I thought we got rid of that.
No, it's still there.
1.5 times?
It's R20 plus 5,000 square feet per additional unit. And then if you add on lots that are just a tiny bit under for a duplex that could go to the building official and get a 10% zoning modification, there's like another 4 or 5 lots. So there is quite a bit of expansion that could happen in there if somebody chose to buy lots to do that.
I didn't think there was anything that way.
Yeah.
Drive through again.
Awesome.
Yeah.
That's where those things are.
Perfect. Yeah, very much appreciate the updates. Yeah, I'm pleasantly surprised to hear that. I was really worried that the thing would be completely gutted, but yeah, like I feel like, you know, trying to ease concerns at the edges is a perfectly good and, you know, valid thing to do. And it seems like the spirit of it is still there. So I really appreciate that. That's awesome.
All right.
Yeah.
Enjoy.
So,
Yeah, absolutely.
you get to go
Don't give
home
up.
early
Don't give
tonight.
up on this in middle. Keep
Yeah,
going.
I appreciate that. We will
you.
not. Yes.
I haven't given up yet.
Yes.
I would go behind you.
All right.
Awesome. All right. Well, we can then move over to our original F1, so review of lofts at Fairgrounds Development Plan. So Rich and I, with Brian's help, put together a draft of a possible letter that we could send over to the planning board. I don't think this is in a state where it's like, oh yeah, cool, let's send it. Like, there, even on this document behind the scenes, there are still some comments there. And one of the things I was hoping to do before this meeting, but I ended up not having time. I'm very much with negative time right now. But the thing I was hoping to do was to try to build in some feedback based on the planning board meeting on the 25th. Like, the things that came up in that meeting that are probably things we could directly speak to and try to address. So I think before I get into the takeaways that I had from the planning board meeting, I first wanted to see if anybody who maybe had a chance to look at it had any of their own thoughts that we could sort of build in, or anybody who got a chance to watch the planning board meeting, if you also had any reactions or things that we might want to consider heading off in the letter.
I was, I watched the whole thing.
Mm.
Oh, no, I took your advice and lined it up to the, and I was kind of a little taken aback by the different, even going back to, apparently there was a village plan for West Kingston that they referred back to, and it seemed a lot of opposition to the density and to the height and to the, even just from, my takeaway was just straight up from the zoning board before all of the, people started to speak. And I guess I was surprised that I didn't hear, I heard a lot about losing,
Industrial.
sure, the industrial, losing industrial, that I didn't, I don't know, that took me by surprise. Maybe I've been sleeping on that, even to, I'm referring to Bethany Curtis's letter, and I don't know what she owns. I just know them. I thought they just had places in Peacedale, but apparently other people that had businesses there. The concern was about losing that for manufacturing and industry. Those were the things that really, in addition to, the other people that spoke about the environment and, whatever the, when they were referring to not the property closest to it, but, the other, what's out there, the preserve, or I'm trying to think what exactly the piece of land they were talking to, but yeah, I again heard a lot more opposition than I had before.
Yeah.
That's my takeaway. And so when I looked at our draft where it says aligning with the town's vision and increase, I'm saying, well, I thought that really kind of changed the content of this letter. That was my opinion.
Yeah, I still think my impression is that the attendees of that meeting and even the members of the planning board are not a good cross section of South Kingstown. Like, that if you were to pull people off the street at random and said, hey, do you want to build, apartments in town, that you would get a lot more people who would show support than if you're going to have a lot of neighbors and that sort of thing. Yeah, but at the same time, like, these are the concerns that are being voiced. So, like, we need to, like, whether, I wish we had public opinion polling in the town of South Kingstown, but, like, in the absence of that, it's...
that the people that can make these decisions, had strong opinions about.
Right.
That was my
Right.
Well, some people just don't want to change.
Yeah.
And, and we had talked about the last meeting about industrial use.
Mm.
And the Chamber of Commerce and the EDC, and been trying to get somebody to take over that building to attract a business.
For a long
Right.
time.
And couldn't do it.
Yeah,
There was no
exactly.
interest. And even though it really is a lot of infrastructure there, especially electrical.
Right.
And they even reached out to Electric Boat to say, could do a lot here, you know, you could do training and all that stuff.
Exactly.
No, so.
No, my understanding was that Schneider was shopping that facility around before they even left.
Probably.
Yeah.
And it was on the market and empty for 8 years.
That makes sense.
After
But
they
you would
moved
know
out,
anything.
they leased space to URI over there for a while.
Engineering,
and
right?
Various other people. But it took them a long time to sell it, and Norpac got a very good deal
I
on
bet
it.
they did.
Yeah.
So, at some point, you gotta ask yourself, if it took that long to move this facility, what is the demand
Yeah.
for that kind of property
Right.
in South Kingston?
Yeah.
And in any event, the industrial facility that was there is continuing
Right.
to be
Right,
an
that's
industrial
the other
Right.
thing.
facility.
Yeah. The other thought I had around that was, in the moment, there is housing that is needed. So would we not do what is needed now? And I'm not saying you wouldn't consider, you know, if the population was going to be, you know, what it is now, and then drop off in 10 years, you'd say, oh, maybe we don't want to put everything, maybe we don't permanently want to make this housing. But that's not going to happen. I mean, that's not a realistic thought. So why we would not meet the needs of our population right now, for some possibility, which it has proven to be not needed now. I don't know. That just didn't make any sense to me.
Yeah.
And when the first person who got up to speak, Mr. Fox, had gotten up to speak, and he said something about the emotional part, and one of the members was, you know, sort of offended, perhaps by that, or defensive, I can say. I think if we don't recognize that there's an emotional component here, right? Nobody wants to see land or whatever, you know.
Beautiful parking lot.
Right.
What are we looking at? We're
I
looking at
know.
a piece of a
It's-
parking lot.
Yes.
Right. But there is this real resistance to
Yeah.
change.
Yeah.
And people are afraid of it. And so the part that I took emotionally, because I do get sort of emotional about it in sort of my frustration that people aren't saying my opinion, right? So, but I come back to, we have learned by numerous people, thinking specifically maybe of, I don't know, people from Habitat or the Women's Corporation. We're going to get more, the closer we get to actually building affordable housing, the more pushback we're going to get. And so I'm trying to prepare myself for that, because I can't help but the hairs go back up on the back of my neck, you know, when I hear it's not the character of this neighborhood. That to me sounds like, I can't think of a nice word.
NIMBY.
Yes.
Yeah, definitely, right, definitely a NIMBY, like, you know, you bought your piece of property, and yes, it's within a community, but you bought your piece of property, and everybody deserves a place to live. So that's sort of, you know, and again, you can see that I'm emotional about that, and I have to own that. But I did try to keep in mind that we're going to get more pushback. I didn't expect it to come from the planning board.
Yeah,
I didn't
I
expect
did.
it to come from the chair of the planning board, and
Very much so.
yeah, and that was
And I think
that was
it's
hard
all
to
about
watch, because
people-
it's the opposite of what we thought we were all
Yeah,
going for.
Yeah, the people who work
Um,
in this town should be able to live in this town.
You're here?
Right.
So,
And I think the letter is very positive,
Mm.
and I think that's the message we need to get out there.
yes,
Mm.
Okay, instead of being playing defense, we
Yeah.
need to be offense.
right,
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
And I think it's well written, so
Yeah, I appreciate that.
Yes.
it flows nicely.
Yes, definitely.
No, that's good.
And I think we also need to be strong, because that was a strong pushback.
Yeah.
So it's
Yeah.
sort of this catch-22, you know, finding that right balance of, you know, really being strong.
Yeah.
Oh, and this is where I can say that I did appreciate that the lawyer came back and, no, that Molina Lodge came back and said, there are ways to avoid a huge number of college students, you know, perhaps, wait, I know we wouldn't say that for real, but, you know, that you would have to have a work history, right? And credit score and those sort of things, so that would help. And plus, all of the affordable units, there's a more restriction there because they have to make $100,000 or whatever they have to make in order to have the minimum. So, so I'm hoping that would be a way to appease that concern.
Well, the affordable units are not an issue.
Right.
Because you cannot be in an affordable unit and be a dependent on somebody else's tax return.
That's big.
Yeah.
So, that might be one more thing, I don't know,
No, I
that we
agree.
could
I
put
was
in
thinking
here.
that, yeah.
You know, that you've already got 25%
Yes.
promised that they're not going to be college students.
Right. Exactly.
And I was surprised that
Yeah.
people really thought that was going to be an issue.
Yeah. Right. It's.
Didn't seem, because you're signing a lease for a year, you know,
Yeah.
or,
Right.
you know, but I
Yeah.
guess, you know, somebody said, well, mom and dad could sign the lease, and
Mhm.
Now, didn't URI just have an agreement with Gilbane for a postgraduate?
Yeah, they're working on it.
Right.
So this is what I keep coming back to. Like URI has everything I've heard from a couple different people there, like housing people and I guess one person I forget what her title was, but not particularly housing, who were saying very similar things, that they're not forecasting an increase in enrollment. Like if you treat that at least as like an approximate truth, maybe it's not exact, maybe things change, but like that's at least the current forecast. And they have their own housing master plan that's saying they're adding in the next, I think it was like 15 years, several hundred net new beds, like having to take down a bunch and build a bunch, but they're building more than they're taking down. That should lead to less of a strain on the community, right? So if even in the absolute fear-mongery doomsday scenario where the other 75% of these units are just full of college kids, that would be like basically clearing them out from all of these other places in the town where people are complaining about it. Like there's, I'm not trying to pick the battle of, let's, take the things that nobody wants and put them all in one spot and put them near these other people who weren't having problems. Like that's not the thing I'm trying to say, but like I think the way that this is often framed is like that college students they're like mold. They like come out of the ether, but it's really like there's a set amount of them. Like they're not just because the house exists. They're not just going to spring up out of the ground and live there. Like they're coming from somewhere, right?
and these apartments are maximum 2-bedroom.
Yes. Yes.
That's the other thing that
Right, so you're not gonna have a party house.
Yeah,
Right.
usually that's not the way the students rent. I know I have 4 students across the street.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's usually 4.
Exactly.
Or 5 or
Yeah, because otherwise it's expensive, and
it's
I guess
too expensive. It's
yeah,
the money they pay. I can't.
yeah,
It's crazy.
right.
Yeah.
And I think there was the question that somebody brought up when we were meeting with Eric Prevey, but about the will there be 24-hour on site,
Oh yeah.
because that could be another thing that
Security.
could sort of ease concerns. If you think, okay, well, we have this certain minimum amount that people are definitely not going to be. It's definitely not going to be college students, almost certainly. And then you have the rest where, even if some do trickle in, there's going to be people on site to right away put a stop to any foul play, any sort of noise, any sort of problems. Then it's like, the people who are looking to try to, make some URI Dorm West are not going to be looking there because they're not going to be able to have the kind of lifestyle they want. It's going to be tightly policed. So,
Believe that.
yeah.
I think a survey was done, that, at least with the postgraduates, that they wanted to stay on campus
Yes.
because there's
yes.
more for them to do.
Exactly. The
Right?
the demand
Social
is
aid
overwhelming.
and,
Yep.
the support services and
Right.
the cafeteria and the union and
Yeah.
there's all kinds of stuff going on. They'd rather be on campus.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And
And the post grads aren't the issue. I mean,
Yeah.
my personal experience post-grad, my kids' personal experiences post-grad, they're done with all that undergraduate
Right.
stuff.
Yeah.
Right.
They don't want to be involved in it. They
Right.
don't want roommates that are involved in it.
Yep.
They're done.
Yep.
So, and you get a lot of grad students that are married. You get a lot of grad students that are married and have kids. That need an affordable place to live, whether it's capital A or small a. And this would be good for them. You also
Absolutely.
have a lot of entry-level professorial staff
Absolutely.
Yes.
are not well paid
No. No.
that need a place like this, as well as all of the other non-teaching staff that takes to run a university like
Yeah.
URI.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah,
Yeah, the support staff.
I was
So-
also surprised. I'm worried about children. And, you know, so now, do we, you know, is it gonna impact the ability to, I guess, for schools and, you know, I can't, so there will be some 2-bedroom apartments, but, yeah, I guess maybe mom and dad, 2 kids.
but remember too, this isn't 20 years ago when our schools were bursting at the seams.
Yes.
Yeah, no.
Our
yeah.
schools right now are begging
Yes.
for students.
That's my impression of what's going
That
on.
there is a critical mass of students that you need in a school to allow it to function
Yeah.
properly. And if you have classes operating at, 18, 19 students when contract says the teacher is able to take 26, then it doesn't matter.
Right.
It's same number of classrooms,
Exactly.
same number of teachers,
Right.
same number of buildings being lighted and heated. There really isn't a cost.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm on board with that.
It's hard when in meetings, and I don't know how you mitigate this, but it's hard in meetings when you hear some people stand up and they say things that you know are not true
Yep.
or are just don't have enough information. I think of one person in the meeting who said, why should South Kingstown be providing all the affordable housing for the state of Rhode Island?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
Wow.
things that get put out like that
Yep.
are so frustrating.
Yes.
And I don't know how you address that.
Yeah.
I'm not the person who's going to get up and say, Mr. So-and-so said blah, 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 and that is incorrect, but that's kind of what needs to be said.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Why is it our problem?
Yeah,
I did hear it.
yeah. I don't know. I don't
Yeah.
know.
I think it's tough when, I think I'm not saying that the arguments are, that there are no good arguments against this, that it's all just people sort of pulling at things, but
Yeah.
I think a lot of it is kind of just a general, I don't want that near me.
Yes, I
and
think
so I'm
that's
going to latch
true.
on to whatever is the strongest argument to get
that's
it away
true.
from me.
Yes.
Right.
And yeah, and it's sort of tough then to argue those on the merits when it's I'm not saying it's purely emotional, but there are probably other deeper reasons of maybe it's mostly aesthetic, maybe it's worry about home value, maybe it's worry about noise, they're just a cocktail of all this. But
Sure.
I think a lot of it is the potential of what it could be and all those
Right.
worries and fears, and then if the thing that's standing out is the industrial land or whatever else, then
Right.
Traffic.
sure, or
That, yeah.
then I'll run with it because it seems like a a point that's gaining some traction. But the
Right.
Why don't we
Yeah.
loop back to the
Yeah.
letter
Yeah.
here?
Okay.
And, are there things
Yeah.
that aren't said that anybody thinks need
Yeah.
to be said? Are there things that are said too strong that need to be softened up a bit? Are there things that
Yeah.
are not said strongly enough? And that you feel need to have a little bit more oomph behind?
yeah
That's sort of, and I was just going to say, I was not putting that out, and I know I'm emotional about it, but I was not putting that out as a complaint. I really was putting it out as how do we address that? Like,
Yeah,
how can we say in better language, we need to stay cognizant of, misinformation that's out there, or unfounded fears, or I don't know if there's a way to.
Well, I always address it, through my work with Habitat. These people are hard-working people that just
Yes.
can't afford
Right.
to live in these communities because it's so expensive.
Mhm.
Yep.
These are people with jobs and,
Mhm.
pay mortgges. And,
Yep.
and
Right,
it will be
right.
people that pay rent.
Right, lift the
Yeah.
importance of
Yeah.
housing.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Maybe there's a way to do that more strongly.
yeah. Yeah, and I think like part of the goal of this is to do exactly what you're saying. Is to like some of it was these points that were brought up in this unsigned petition. Some of it is stuff that, for example, that was mentioned in the meeting. Like there are a couple of things specifically that came up in the meeting that I thought we might want to make sure is in this. Like because that is one way that we can do it. We can come out in favor of it in terms of the benefits it provides, but we can also try to address the problems that people have with it.
Yeah.
Like the couple of things that I thought might need to get added. This was one of your comments as well, Brian, that I very much agreed with, was basically trying to tie back to some of the like the town's own comprehensive plan, or even if there's language in the West Kingston Village Plan, which that one I have not read, but if there's anything in there that is specifically advocating for this construction, because I know in the town comprehensive plan there's a section on housing.
Yeah.
So, being able to.
So
Yeah.
I printed out a couple of copies of
Oh,
this,
perfect. Yeah.
which is in the online application materials.
Mhm.
This was a professional planning report that the applicant put together.
Mm.
Talks about the West Kingston
Yeah,
Village
yeah.
Plan from 2015. Talks
Perfect.
about the comprehensive plan. It's something that I just wanted to make a point that it might be a good resource
Yeah.
to look at in putting your stuff together.
Yes.
At a minimum, it'll give you a direction on things that you might want to go back to look at if you want to go back to the original source materials.
Yeah. No, that's a great point. Yep.
Gotcha.
And sorry, did you say this was in the meeting packet, or is this in a separate email, or
If you go onto
It's
the website,
the
into
website?
the planning website,
Okay.
the website for Lofset Fairgrounds,
Gotcha.
their page.
Yep.
If you have trouble finding it, let me know. I'll
Uh-huh.
shoot you the link to it.
Yep.
Could you do that?
Yeah.
Thank you.
I can.
I need a printed copy. That kind of a person.
Yeah. No, but I think in general, like that, we can definitely update the language, like especially at the top bit where it's saying aligning with the town's vision. It would be
Yeah.
great to, in that bullet, be able to reference specific things from the town's own,
Very good.
stated goals.
Absolutely.
Because then it's very clear. It's not abstract.
Very good.
Yeah, I thought in addition, there were a bunch of people who were worried about it becoming a dorm, and I thought it's a hard argument to make
Yeah,
concisely,
how you would address
but
it,
like I feel like I could definitely make a logical point as to why it's not a major worry, but being able to do so quickly is concisely in a letter like this is a little tricky. But the examples being like things that were discussed in the meeting, like that the LMI units are very unlikely to be things that college students can qualify for, that there are other mechanisms that are legal and have been used that would still be tending to prioritize people who are not students.
And maybe that's just it. Maybe that's the point.
Right.
Yeah, right. And yeah, like just like a couple sentences maybe on that to add in here, I think
Yeah.
would be good.
And this project is being phased in. So you're
yeah.
gonna be able to monitor,
Yeah, also true.
right?
If you're
The first building goes up, what's the census in there,
yeah.
right? What's
Yeah.
the second building? So
Right. No, true.
that'll take a few years.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and the other thing I thought was honestly great was the testimony from Mr. Sweeney at the meeting about like basically that he had run his own analysis on the financials of the project and basically concluded that it wasn't viable. Like in the sense that he didn't even need to get on the level of saying like, oh no, the developer has a good heart or they're doing it for the community. Like his professional opinion was that the finances are so tight that developers would not typically make this project. Like it would not happen.
Yes.
And so, you know, we wanted to sort of have in here this idea of like, you know, we have this goal to build affordable housing, and if not on this property, like where is there a better
Where?
fit? Like
Where
it's
else would you put it?
right. Like
Right.
it's
And who else would you get to do it?
yeah, that's the other thing. Like the picture that was painted at this meeting was basically that this, like they used the word unicorn multiple people, like
Yeah.
as in that this developer is like, it's not to say that nobody could come in and propose something like this, but it's unlikely that you would be able to get this much housing, like this much needed housing, like in this style of a
Yeah.
project anytime soon if this doesn't happen. So
And you have the infrastructure there, that's the other
yeah,
thing.
yeah. There's so many advantages.
Yeah,
Like,
so you don't
you're
have to
the-
build it. It's
Right.
already there.
It's already there.
Yeah.
They already, you know, it's not like having to clear land. They have the
No,
parking lot
that's
there
right.
already. It's right near the, you know, the Kingston station, so it
Yeah.
ties in really well with the transit hub
Bus
stuff
route,
and everything.
Bus stops
Yeah.
there.
It's
They rip the
like,
bus.
yep, and the road already having had the traffic on it before, and the, you know, improvements happening at 138. Like there are just so many pieces that work really well with it.
Exactly.
And some of them are in here, but I think the piece that was not in here, because I just didn't know it, is the level to which this project is just unlikely to be replicated if we don't go through it.
And I
Because
think that's really
That's
important.
right.
yeah,
So it
Say
could,
Mhm.
sorry.
I think it's important to say that.
yeah,
I even think maybe, you know, that's a question that starts a paragraph. If
Mm.
not here,
yeah,
Where?
yeah,
Where?
right?
Right, and it's not gonna be
Um,
open space.
yeah,
Right?
Yeah.
And if not them, who?
yeah, right.
Truly, and that's that. I almost think about putting that very early on because so many things will point to that. The transportation hub, the infrastructure, the what else did I write down? Well, the need, right? Our statistics and how poor they are.
Yeah,
If you don't do it here, how are we going to ever get to
Yeah.
10%?
right, exactly,
And that's just talking about affordable housing. We need housing for everybody.
right, exactly.
By the college, I mean, I can't. I'm sorry. I can't imagine a better
Right.
opportunity.
Exactly.
And it's not just for the people who live in town, but it's for the people who work in town.
Right.
And have to, but live somewhere else.
You can't live in town
Right.
because
Right, exactly. Yeah, and I do think we make allusions to this as well, but I think a lot of the oxygen gets taken up by concerns of people who are like directly abutting when there are a lot of benefits to the broader
Yes.
community that don't often come
Right.
into it.
Right.
So yeah, I think we make that point well, but yeah, if that isn't coming through enough, then we could try to gas that up a little bit. I think the final thing that I had listed is so a couple people brought up the TOD stuff, like even Joe mentioned before this, like looking to that as a possible like
What?
guideline, like transit oriented
Oh, thank you.
development.
Yeah.
Yeah, like looking at that as a possible guideline for like how much density is the state, for example, proposing. And I am planning to look up some more on that. Like I know even if Rhode Island's draft of that doesn't have specific numbers, one of the things we could look at is, for example, reference what Massachusetts is doing, which I think does have specific numbers about like what's around. Just as a a similar sort of state with similar sorts of housing problems, like what is something that might be considered acceptable. So I don't know if that's something that we directly need to include in this. Like I'm still sort of like, I don't know, like maybe if there's a very clear number, but I think it's hard because you're trying to say, is it within a quarter mile? And if you go from the property line or the closest point on the property to closest point on the property, it's definitely within a quarter mile. If you go to the closest point on the train station to the exact location of the buildings, it seems like some of them are in, some of them are out. And if you go from the center of Kingston Station over to like the center of the property, it's not within a quarter mile. So like, I don't know how they do the calculation. Maybe it's not even, I know they haven't finalized a lot of it yet, but I'm thinking it might not make sense to get into those weeds in this. But one of the things that comes out of that, there's language in the state regulation for TOD talking about how it's important to build high density around transit specifically for state goals like climate, for example, and reducing traffic and expanding access to transit so that like, it can be more utilized and connect people to economic opportunity. And so I think our point on on the climate in there is a little weaker than it could be. I would love to build in language specifically from the TOD law to say like this is like the state considers this essential in order to meet its climate goals, and just inherently it's this pattern of development is going to be more sustainable than the predominant housing type in town.
So if we had some language about, I was gonna say, it's not progress that I'm looking for, it's a word that's more like,
Here's a letter, by the way.
No, I have the
Oh, you
letter.
got
I
that.
have both. I just wanted to make sure I was looking at the right thing.
Oh, sure.
when you're sort of,
Yes.
when you're addressing when you're addressing important issues in the now, like, I don't know. Maybe along with that somewhere is, I think, if we can get people to stop thinking of density as a bad word. I don't know if there's, let's not be afraid to talk about density. Density is a good thing. Density is the way out of our present condition.
Yeah.
In a way that's financially, right, when you go back to this whole financial thing, everybody said, you can't do this if you don't make it 4 stories. You can't,
Right, building up is less expensive than building out.
right.
Yes.
And it's so much less damaging to,
The environment.
right?
Yeah.
It's just frustrating. I'm sorry.
So are there other points in the letter that like either things that are not in there or things that as phrased should be stronger, weaker, different? There were a couple of other thoughts in our Word doc that we were working through, and so I might tweak. Like I'm happy to give another swing at this, like do sort of an updated draft, and there might be some other language that I tweak in response to that, but I don't think any of that is major, and most of it we've discussed here already. So I just want to make sure beyond that and beyond what we've already talked about, is there anything that's missing?
I think just sort of as a specific, perhaps, rather than to start with there's no evidence that the design will impact the wildlife management, is to say that, given the current concerns about climate and the environment, this is something that addresses, sprawl, right?
Exactly,
It addresses
yep.
the sprawl problem.
Mm-hmm.
And density is the way to address sprawl.
Yes. Yeah, no, that's exactly where it would make sense to build in all the sustainability stuff, because I think distilling environmental concerns down to stormwater when it's currently a parking lot is like there's a lot more that this does environmentally, because again people don't just spring out of the ether, they're coming from somewhere. So if you make the housing stock in general more sustainable, then you're going to have
It's a win.
it's a win. You're going to have a lower per capita footprint. Like it's good. Yeah. Yeah, and I know the one other thing, I know Rich obviously wasn't able to make it today, but he had sent an email, something to the effect of like parts from the town comprehensive plan, et cetera, that might make sense to build in. We've discussed like kind of conceptually that'll be a good thing to build in, but
Parts of what?
the town's comprehensive plan,
absolutely.
so there's a concrete stuff that we could build in.
Kingston plan that they referred to?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, for the village,
Mhm.
exactly.
Village, right.
Yep.
So let's remember in talking about this as well, that as this is a state comprehensive
Mm-hmm.
permit,
Yeah.
a lot of those concerns about the Kingston plan and the comprehensive plan largely go out the window
Yeah.
because they are superseded by the comprehensive permit.
Yeah.
And I always think about that. You know, I think that when I was hearing the pushback and thinking about the state comprehensive plan, I thought, don't you want to work with this organization so you're not, so it's not imposed upon
Yeah. Right.
us as a town, right? Because we have heard, right, that most of the concessions that a developer goes for in the state, if they're not addressed by the town, if it's not approved, if they can't work with the town, and it goes to be arbitrated by the state, that the developer usually wins.
Well, that was always the case with the State Housing Appeals Board, but the State Housing Appeals Board has gone away.
Oh, right.
And all of these cases are now going directly to Superior Court. They created a special housing calendar in the Superior Court. And there have been some decisions that suggest that it may be a little less developer friendly than Shab was.
Gotcha.
Gotcha.
Okay.
Gotcha. Yeah, but I still like the point. Like we can point out that the comp permit gives them, well, whether we directly point it out or just just acknowledge that the comp permit gives them the ability to go over and above whatever the town wants to do. But if this particular project also aligns with town goals as
Right.
stated,
Yeah.
then we say, look, like this is something, like they don't need to do anything we want them to do. They could build basically whatever project they want and request whatever waivers they want through the comp permit, but it just so happens that we have these goals and this project helps meet these goals. So
Good point.
yeah, so that I think I could try to switch up the language there to make that clear. Yeah.
The line, more and more communities are building structures like this. This is in point 3 on the back page.
Okay. Yeah.
Sorry, when you're ready. You want a minute?
No, it's fine. Yep.
I wonder if that could be one of those places that we could use rather than more and more communities are building structures, but, and I don't want to use the word progressive, but, communities that are meeting the needs of the future, something toward that, So not just saying more of them, but what is it, like, what's the quality of that community?
Yeah.
It's thinking about the future.
Right.
The quality of the future, whatever,
Yeah.
Just a little.
Yeah, it's like the future and the present, really. But yeah.
Right. Forward thinking, forward
Right. Yeah.
planning.
No, but I get the idea, like that it's not just that people are doing them, because you could infer, oh well, it's because they are also being held at gunpoint by the comp permit. It's
Right.
like no,
Right.
like the communities want to build these
Right.
in large part because like that is the way that you build housing that is even at market rate more affordable than what they
Right.
currently have.
Right.
So yeah.
Yeah, and somehow sort of label it as something, this is what people you want to be labeled as somebody who's really doing something
Yeah.
remarkable.
Right.
And did I hear correctly that this isn't gonna go before planning again until next year as well, correct?
Till the end of January, the fourth
Yeah.
Tuesday.
Yeah. I thought-
Yep. And would our meeting, I'm just trying to see. So would our meeting be on the 22nd that month? Is it 4th Thursday? Because the 1st is a Thursday, so we'd be early.
Yeah, so your meeting would be the 22nd and their meeting would be the 27th.
Gotcha. So is that early enough to be able to make it into their meeting materials if we were to, vote on the final version of this then?
Yeah, I mean, if you got it nailed down on the 22nd and I was able to get it out on Friday before the weekend,
Yeah.
I think you're probably okay.
Yeah.
I certainly wouldn't have an objection to meeting to vote
Yeah.
on a letter on a different meeting if we just wanted to come in and do a 30-minute meeting
Yeah.
to vote on a final product.
Yes, you can get ahead.
We could do
Totally.
that.
Yeah, and we should have plenty of time for this. Like, I definitely am not intending to let this sit over the holidays. I prefer to do this as early as possible. So, yeah. So I think if we're in a good state to do that, it should be easy. And again, we would technically only need 4 of us to be able to make it, even if it's just like at the beginning of some meeting. Like, it should be okay. Yeah, but I like that. In the absolute worst case, we still have our normal meeting where we could vote to approve. So, I guess if it works for you all, does it sound good if I sort of synthesize? Like, I've been taking notes on the points we've made here. I can try to synthesize all this and update what's in the letter, and also build in some of the other thoughts from Rich and the remaining comments that were on it, and try to send out another improved draft. And ideally, I'll work through you, Brian, but ideally you all will have a chance to look at it, and then we can, get something on the calendar to try to vote on it.
So
That would be really good.
just because Nick's new, I can circulate something on behalf of Josh, but the board members cannot reply to him. You can reply to me, and then we can work with Josh I can work with Josh to try and hammer things together.
For example, sorry to interrupt you, if you sent it out, I read it, I was like, hey, I want to change this, but that change would go to you.
Me.
Got it.
Yeah.
Understood.
Right.
Just want to make
'Cause-
sure I got the right.
Yes.
Yeah, there's so boards are not allowed to discuss public business
Outside of
in private.
Correct,
It
yeah.
should all be discussed here. And there is something that the Attorney General and the courts have recognized called a rolling quorum. So if everybody starts to individually respond to Josh,
Yeah.
it's like he just had a conversation with the other 6 members of the board outside of a public meeting. Okay? If I receive them, what I've been able to do is suggest them back to Josh as edits.
Got it. Yep.
Without him actually becoming engaged in the conversation. So
Got it.
Yeah.
Do we need to vote on Josh to be able to do that?
no, because he's not gonna sign something and send it. He's gonna continue what he's been doing. Josh and Rich have been chatting on a lot of these things.
Great.
And working it together, and it's gone. The letter has really gone from a sort of a bulleted list to something that's much more
Yeah.
thorough.
Yeah, I'd
and
really like
it's
to. I'd really
been
like
really
to
really
thank.
positive progress.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It really-
yeah. I really want to thank you
That's
and
good.
Rich
Yeah,
for-
very
for
good.
Brian.
Appreciate it.
I've been trying to stay out of it. They've been doing fine.
Good. And I know that's a lot. I know you did take a lot of notes, and but you certainly have a way with words to be able to put things together real well.
Oh.
Consolidate thoughts. Appreciate it.
Appreciate it. Just in time for the machines to make that irrelevant. It's perfect.
Right.
Yeah, and then there's that. So
Yes.
how will that impact?
As I've
all
just started using
as
AI,
we
it would
think
work.
of these-
There it is.
You know.
Yeah. Right.
ChatGPT.
Right.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. Anyway, yeah, I could definitely. I'll continue on with this, and I guess we're getting up on 2 hours anyway, and close to the bottom of our agenda. I just want to make sure that that's all we had. Oh yeah, this was the thing I had in print. So, yeah, I guess the only other things that we haven't touched would be recurring discussion topics, which we don't have anything for this meeting, or new issues and future agenda items. I guess anybody have anything that should maybe belong on a future agenda?
I will mention a couple of things.
Yeah.
One, come your next meeting, we will need to vote on the
Yeah.
2026 meeting schedule.
Uh-huh.
And we will also have elections for officers. So is there anybody that has a problem with the current fourth Thursday thing, or just
No.
leave well enough alone?
I'm good with it.
I will say I like the earlier time, but
Hmm.
I don't know if
Uh,
that is
well, you-
always possible for people
Um,
that work.
I will let you
Have
know what
jobs.
happens, because, normally Historic District comes right before you guys. I have at least one new member. I'll ask them whether they want to continue in their time slot. If they want to move, then,
I mean, I just,
and also,
Throw it out when I do.
we're largely gonna start holding our meetings down here, because the competition for the council chambers is just insane.
Is it?
And the conference room up there is just stinks.
Yeah.
Even when it isn't feeling claustrophobic, the HVAC system in there is very loud. And especially with us being required to now stream these meetings, you hear the HVAC kick on in the recordings and you can barely hear anything.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I.
this will give us a lot
This is-
more flexibility in meeting nights.
Yeah.
And we also, we have a new staff person down here, Tracy Owens. And at some point, we're gonna have to talk about distributing staff liaison responsibilities. So, I'm not sure where her interests lie. But if she has something she's particularly interested in, let her follow
She a planner?
her interests. She has a joint job as planner and GIS. So our GIS administrator, Carol Baker, who had been here for 28 years, retired over the summer. So she replaced Carol's GIS role, but they also wanted somebody to serve as a planner as well. So she's got dual roles.
What'd you say her last name was?
Owens.
Just for myself.
Cool. And did you have anything else for?
No, I just wanted to
just
mention
that,
the
yeah.
elections and
Yes.
to see whether everybody was cool with keeping the meeting where it was.
Yes. No, that.
And remember that the meeting
Yeah.
thing doesn't get locked in stone, but it is a requirement that we have to file that with the Secretary of the State at the beginning of the year.
Gotcha.
okay.
Yeah. No, that sounds good. And yeah, we'll talk about it. But I would also be fine with whatever time, like earlier, later, whatever works. It's all good. Okay. Well, in that case, I think we can hop over to adjournment. Could we get a motion and a second for adjournment?
I motion to adjourn.
I'll second it.
Awesome. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And we are adjourned at 7:29, which is honestly fabulous. I was keeping a
Good job.
I was keeping a
Good job. Really good job. You did not- I
Got a lot
feel
covered, yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
I was keeping just a little bit of an eye